Hi, Dale.
Hello.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I heard the last part of the presentation, Jeffrey, about what's going to go on for the next couple of years. So that's exciting. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I was telling Janine earlier, we're looking at contracting with CQL to teach the POM tool.
That's great. I think that's a nice next step. And what we've been trying to do, Jane and I, is really kind of get more granular in terms of these big systems changes and what that really means for the individual staff, the DSPs and the employment specialists and the residential staff, and how and what does this mean to them in terms of being more community-based and more person-centered and more focus on employment. And so that's what we tried to do, is kind of break that down into these steps, provide some strategies and tools in relation to those things: meaningful day services, discovering assessment, engaging employers and community organizations, and then training individuals and supporting them, whether it's in the community social recreating or training and supporting them as it relates to employment. So we're hoping they'll have that. And if, a lot of these sessions were recorded and the tools are available to you on an ongoing basis. Janine, what else would you add just in terms of what we're hoping to kind of leave these good folks with?
Well, I certainly, I think you pretty much said it all, but a piece that we didn't touch on much is technology, and really keeping our minds open to what different technologies and applications, and there's just so much out there, really can do to help people really maximize their independence in the community, at work, and at home. And so there's so much out there. So some things that we actually have a virtual reality headset that we're trying out now, but there is many different software programs, but one that we particularly like is called Life Sherpa. And so if you want to just Google that, you can find out some information about it. But it's an app-based on your phone. It really helps people kind of self-regulate themselves. You can have a task analysis, but it helps with, since we kind of targeted today is systematic instruction, as we're looking at ways to fade from day one, really kind of looking at what else is out there so that we're not creating that ongoing dependence on ourselves. Has anybody been using technology?
Yeah. Anybody? How about something as simple as, instead of going there, you call them or FaceTime them to kind of check in? Have you used your cell phones in that regard?
We do.
You do? Okay.
Yeah, we use FaceTime, a lot of FaceTime, just to do reassurances with them and stuff like that. Phone calls too, a little bit of both. So.
Right. And are they fine with, using the technology as a way to support them?
Yeah, some of them, yeah, for the most part. But, even though we use them, we'll still show up in person, give them the time and then show up in person, and then kind of go from there, just to give them that practice. And then, as you said, like little by little, we start to fade, or if they don't feel comfortable and we talk about it, we'll go back to the normality of being there, and just we want to make sure that they're very comfortable using the technology and stuff. And most of them are, the ones that we have, they're pretty good.
I don't think there's anything in there, but you can.
Yeah, good. Anybody else? Curtis, I think you're saying something. You need to unmute.
There we go. Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, we do the same at VAC. We have some individuals who actually don't want us there in person. They prefer us to be over the phone. So there's a lot of that goes on over here. And then even when we're fading out, kind of part of the fade out process with us is checking in with them, like offsite job coach checking in. And then we slowly just, get to the point where they're completely on their own. But a lot of that is through the phone too.
Okay. Good.
And two, this is a little bit different than just the job coaching supports, but I think a lot of our folks in the last couple of years have really gotten a strong taste of using the technologies that the employers have out there, as far as like onboarding, using DocuSign, downloading an app on their phone to do their time card. They're making all the employees be responsible for, entering their own time, and, how does that work? And, those due dates and everything, so, everybody is so dependent on that little device in our hands nowadays, so just learning all those different things, even when we were starting, with a new FMS as far as a our PIP program, our paid internship program, and they were completely, automated as far as, their onboarding was all through DocuSign. So everybody, really had to learn to check their emails, so often, and make sure that, everything is signed. And DocuSign, if you haven't used it before, can, feel a little bit challenging, but when you have to like attach other forms to the DocuSign, then it gets a little bit trickier. So, there's been a lot of, learning curves and things, but, it's really good because it really did force us all to go ahead and learn together, and, best ways to teach and all those things. So there was that as well.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, I used to, when we would do, for lack of a better word, the SWOT analysis that would be done as part of strategic planning with organizations that were considering that transition from more segregated to community-based services. Almost always, technology and the growing use of technology was listed as one of the threats and one of the weaknesses when it comes to supporting people with disabilities. Putting it another way, it was kind of the common perception amongst the staff that technology was going to leave folks with intellectual and developmental disabilities in the dust, and that we're all going to be moving to all this technology and they're going to be over here. And that was one of their big concerns about getting people out into the community, getting people out into jobs. And then COVID hit. And I think one of the things we learned is that technology was not that big barrier to employment. It wasn't that big barrier to them participating in a social media world. And they took to it great. And we just had to get it in their hands. And the pandemic really motivated us because we wanted to get paid for services. We were all of a sudden really motivated to get technology into their hands and to help them figure out how to use it. And I thought that really put that to rest, that, not that they're not going to have troubles, like great example. I loved what you said, Jamie, in terms of, they can sign their name, but now they got to attach the timesheet, or they got to do these other tasks associated with it. And that's going to take some doing, but we can bring them along.
Mm-hmm.
I find that, at least for us, our staff are more afraid to use it than the people that we're supporting. And so, because there's kind of that, you come to this field because you really care and you want to work with people, and then you're kind of saying, well, what can I do with technology so I'm not there? It feels a little weird, but I'm always there. Why am I? And then that kind of fear, what does that mean? Well, I still have a job, but of course there's always people who need supports, right? So
Right. And to the way that this FMS, which, you know, of course, we all, the people that support, we're all like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so challenging. Even the employee portal that the intern is responsible for. So like if they change their bank account, they've got now a different routing number for their direct deposit, they got to go onto their employee portal and fill out the form and get that submitted. But all those things are helping them because when they're a direct hire, hope, fingers crossed eventually, those things are the things that are happening out there. If you want to get your, at the end of the year, your W-4, or W-2, was it W-2, W-4? Anyways, your tax form, being able to go onto your employee portal and get that downloaded when you need it, and those things, just all those are just learning things along the way, so that when ultimately, they're on their own, they're in a job, they're understanding the importance of that employee portal. I mean, because we all pretty much have one, and we go to it and we see how everything's doing and are making changes or paperwork or all those things. So it was a good thing, as challenging as it was.
Yeah.
Good skill to learn. I know Nicole put in the chat, if it wasn't for technology, they really couldn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah, and our students when work while they're in our program, and so they use the same time card system as all of our employees do, which is electronic based now, and took us a while to get there at Taft College, but we're there now, and everybody's putting in their time that way. And then we do a lot of communication through text messages and through cell phones. None of our students, we're kind of a different model, so I realize that going in. None of our students have job coaches. We use all natural supports in the community while they're working. So unless there's an issue that arises at work that needs to be addressed, then they're all working independently in their different jobs that they have. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Janine, could you give some examples of where you and your staff are using technology? Because we talked about using just the cell phone to communicate and FaceTime to just check in. What other ways have you used technology as a way to support individuals?
Well, some of what was discussed, FaceTime, texting, smartwatches that, kind of can put reminders in so people aren't pulling out their cell phone. The smartwatch is always helpful. We've used we have a project search program at a college. And so we've used all sorts of different technology, but one was a GPS app, just so the interns, once we met in the morning when they went to go do their rotations, instead of having a staff be with them. I mean, initially we did a tour of the campus, but then, they had their kind of map on their phone, so they knew where they were going. And we could also kind of track to make sure that, certainly if they made a wrong turn or they got lost, we could find them and help them, kind of get to their internship. Life Sherpa you can load in pictures and task analyses. And the nice thing about Life Sherpa, and again, I'm not selling it, but a lot of those kind of app-based, software-based apps collect data as well. And so you can kind of see where people kind of continue to need some support. You can, kind of start noticing trends. And so we can then kind of flex our time, so we know maybe when it's more important for us to be on site versus not. People who don't like supports, I think it was Curtis, you said that. So for folks who they don't want to necessarily have staff in their lives, right? They feel pretty independent, but they do need some support. That we'll do some app-based stuff with that too. So it's, kind of quick and easy. They don't really feel like they have a staff person kind of checking, right? They can kind of control when they want to update us on something or ask for help.
Yeah, and I remember from that demo that with Life Sherpa that there was a number of tools essentially for the job coaches as well.
Yeah.
So they could track somebody's performance on the job, you know, how many units did they do and this day versus other days. I think there was some, yeah, you could put in some videos that if they needed help in terms of how to do specific tasks,
Yeah.
they could reference those.
Or they could even just check, again, it's completely customizable. So they could just check in, right? So they'll just say like, okay, I've checked in. You just click a box. And so then we'll know, yep, they checked in with who they had to, you know, they kind of check off a list so we know.
Oh, so as they do the job, they could say, okay, I finished this and I'm going to move into this room and do these tasks. And it's all on a schedule. And then they can show that they've completed those, and that can be monitored by the job coach as well, correct?
Right.
Okay.
And then a prompt, oh, you finished everything early, you know, go see so-and don't forget to ask so-and-so for more work or whatever. For people who that works for, right? Nothing works for everybody.
Right.
We just got this virtual reality headset, which I won't put on because I look really dorky. But it's interesting in that it can show people different types of jobs, and you can like with that headset on, you can actually really do the job to see if you A, like it, or B, if you need to kind of master something, right? You can kind of keep trying it with this virtual reality headset on. I was in like some little island this morning with palm trees and a beautiful sofa. It was great.
So do they actually do the tasks, physically do the tasks in front of them, or are they virtually doing a task?
They're virtually doing the task, but the headset has the exact job and steps, so you're virtually doing it. But it looks like you're really...
So you don't actually grab something, but it looks like you're grabbing something and you're putting it somewhere or whatever it is you're doing with it.
Yeah.
Wow. That's wild.
There's lots of stuff. So yeah, so I started it just to be, you know, we need to remember to be mindful to support our staff and being open to kind of stepping back and saying what might be out there that might be useful for someone to really, again, maximize that independence. Because us being there, you know, does create a barrier for people making real relationships. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else just use of technology while we're on that topic? I mean, I think it's an area that's just going to blow up. And I think from a funding policy perspective too, that's going to have to catch up because it tends to be pretty dependent on got to be there to get paid. And what Janine just said, sometimes that's counterproductive to be there. And so it might not always be in the best interest of the individual to always be hovering and having to be on site. So how can providers be effectively compensated for providing virtual supports?
Right. Some states are in the process of creating those, but remote supports will continue to look like since COVID, because of course that Appendix K, remote services was the thing. Now that's gone, but I am seeing states start putting in kind of some language around and funding around remote supports.
Good. Anybody else have any technology examples or even just interests in certain technology?
Aaron,
I definitely have an interest in a certain technology, and I don't know who else may share this interest, but at a conference I was recently at, you know, AI is a hot topic. So I'm curious, you know, how others have delved into the AI arena and, you know, how they're using it to work with our population.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Dale.
Just a follow-up question was, what did you see at the conference? How was it being presented as part of what we do?
Yeah, well, so I just had some conversations with some colleagues.
I see.
And at another institution of higher education, they're using it to assist students in creating resumes, you know, and proofreading work that they've done. And so those are a couple of examples that came up just in the conversation I had with a colleague. But I think the applications are, I'm still learning about AI. I don't know, I'm certainly not an expert in it. I have more questions than answers or examples about it. But I feel like it's a field that has a lot of potential. And another area was that they were using it was to take a college text and, for lack of a better term, translate it to plain language, so students could, you know, understand it and be able to do their coursework.
This isn't AI, but we have pens that you can, and so this is probably familiar to you, Aaron, but you kind of use, like, you highlight the text and it reads for you. That's not AI, but for people who have trouble reading.
No, but they're great. Yeah, the reading pens are great, and then some of our students will use different. We have a software programs that they have access to screen readers to help read their documents to them, and then a lot of our students in the classroom now are dictating to their phones what they want to submit, you know, and so I mean, sometimes our best teachers are our students. So yeah,
right.
They show us what they already know and what they can use tech for. So
there's an organization in Colorado called Reality Garage, but I'm sure there's hundreds of them, right? Because it's such a big industry now, but they're partnering with Ray-Ban and they're creating these glasses that someone would use. And so in this case, it would be somebody who we were supporting in job coaching, but it could be used by anybody. And let's say they're facing shells, just for lack of a better example. If they, you know, someone needs help or they get stuck or something's different or whatever, they just tap the glasses and their job coach can then visually see what the person sees and then provide support that way.
Wow.
That's a really cool thing.
I actually had someone who didn't know how to properly, you know, put into the right words a resignation. And when they brought me the resignation letter that they had written, I was amazed and I was like, wow, this is beautifully written. And then they told me that they use Chat GPT for it. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but, you know, Chat GPT, you could type in anything that someone wants to express, say, write, whatever. And it's really cool. It's really weird and odd at the same time, but I could see for some of the people that we help out, like it's a huge tool. Even things like Grammarly, you know, something that they can write into, and then it corrects, you know, how they should put this into the right form. So much cool stuff out there. You can go on and on with it, but it's amazing.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Cole, you had put in the chat, you're thankful for your head, mouse, and the communication device, and EMA, which I don't know what that is. Is that a person, EMA? Emma?
Email. Okay, gotcha. Okay. Other technology conversations. Any other things to add to the list? Yeah, well, I think we should all be very encouraged by the fact that technology is something that's being adopted by the folks we support, and we should, you know, continue to help them stay connected, stay involved when it comes to all the different ways that we all use technology. Okay, good. Let's talk about supports in a more general sort of way. Let's talk about job coaches. So first of all, how many folks on our meeting today have job coaches and use those to provide competitive integrated employment out in the community? Okay, raise your hands. That might be just the easiest way to do it. Okay. And then when you use job coaches, how is it going? What's going well? What areas would you say are challenges for your job coaches or for your organization as it relates to supporting job coaches? How has it been going? And that's for anybody who raised their hand.
So here at Inclusion Films, we have a partnership with the Fox Theater and several local movie theaters. And our job coaches go with our students to shadow them. And then the whole point of having a job coach, though, is to pull back.
To fade over time?
Right, exactly. Because the whole point is, especially if we're working not for niche employment, but for competitive employment, our focus is to get them independent. And so far, it's been working really well for us.
Oh, good, good.
You actually have like a written document, a FADE plan that you kind of...
Yeah, because each student has their own IPP. So we do it per student, not just in general, because that would never be successful. And it's the timeline of how, as long as they're meeting those successful benchmarks, then that's how that works. A job coach is never supposed to be full-time all the time. Then that's a what, niche placement? That's like that's not job placement. That's just another program.
Mm.
I find that it's a helpful tool for employers because oftentimes there's that misperception from employers that, oh, the job coach is here to work also. So I kind of have two employees, and which obviously is not true, but sometimes we can fall into that trap, especially a newer job coach. And so, kind of having a plan and going over that day one helps kind of that discussion go. So you're not.
Our job developer is very, very good at her job, and she makes it very clear that our job coach is a liaison only. They are there as just the advocate and the helper. They're not an employee in that sense. They're not a worker in that sense. And our partners so far have been really impressed because for people that don't work with other people with disabilities, there's always that unknown fear because they think the worst or they have just this idea. So on the first day, they're like, oh, this is totally going to work out. Oh, this person is just like me. So it's been pretty successful so far.
Good. Yeah, I think that's where sometimes we miss the boat, is when we develop a plan to support somebody. We even develop a plan to fade, and we're not sharing that as effectively as we could with the employers. Because I think it's a great way to underscore the role that you play. And I love the fact that your job developer uses terms like liaison, because that denotes a very different kind of role. But I think just in general, the employers in some cases take the job coach for granted and really don't understand that that's an important and valued service that they are getting. And so reinforcing what Janine was saying, if we can share right up front, this is our plan, this is what we're planning to do with the individual. If there's other folks, like you mentioned, that some of the coworkers are going to be nervous about this, but then they come to the conclusion, oh, this person's just like me, but that is a type of support to really get those coworkers and others to see that this person really can and should fit in with everybody else. So that's something we really strongly encourage is to have a workplace supports plan and adjust that workplace support plan over time as their needs for support change, and right up front telling the employer, this is our fading plan. Because I think what ends up happening is the job developers, in trying to get them to say yes to the placement, sells a job coach, which they should. You know, this person's going to be here. They're going to help ensure that this is a good success. But then they don't say the last part, which is, and the person's, when they're not needed, is going to fade away. And then they just assume the person's always going to be there. And they may inappropriately connect. Oh, they have a disability, they need to have a job coach. And we don't want that to be the conclusion that the employer comes to.
Very true.
Others, just how has it been going with your job coaches? What's been going well? Where are some areas that you would see that coaching could improve? Anybody else that raised their hand that you're providing?
Yeah, we don't have a lot, you know, we kind of hit on it just in making sure that the employers have an understanding of the FADE process. But overall, you know, the job coaches that we have, they do amazing. You know, they've been with us for years. So we have quite a bit of the same job coaches that have been here for quite some time, which is awesome. But yeah, I'm trying to think of something that we have issues with. I mean, one thing might be certain areas, like that maybe one of the individuals that we service has issues maybe in the kitchen. Well, our job coaches aren't allowed in the kitchen in a lot of spots, right? So you have some of those challenges that you need to get a job coach in there, but the actual business isn't allowing the job coach to be in this area, wherever that might be. But overall, I mean, it's one of our most successful programs that we have, and a lot of that falls on the shoulders of the job coaches that we have. I mean, they're doing an amazing job out there.
Good. Excellent. Anybody else who raised their hand? You have job coaches, and how's it going with your job coaches?
Just real quick, just same as inclusion films. It sounds like we're doing the same type of program where we do have those goals, and we have really good relationships with the employers. We do check in with them to make sure that if there's anything that is extra that they need to learn and stuff like that. There's a lot of communication in between. We're a small community, so they're really good about knowing who we are, what we do, and where we're lacking, if anything. And also I check in with them, with the employers as well, making sure that our job coaches are doing what they're supposed to do as well. But we're very small, so it's been good. It's been really good. I feel that our clients are successful wherever they're at, and their jobs too. They do really well. So we're good.
Okay, good. Glad to hear it. Do your job coaches use systematic instruction, task analysis? Do they tend to take what the person's doing on the job and break it down into steps? Do they train to those steps? Do you have job coaches that are helping individuals develop new skills to make themselves even more valuable to those specific employers? Or in some cases, developing skills to the point where maybe they are promoted, or maybe they get more hours because they're now doing several tasks that they weren't initially doing. Are your job coaches helping in those areas to kind of help them enhance their skills, advance themselves when it comes to being on the job, making a higher wage, maybe based on some higher skills that they've acquired? Any examples of that in terms of the good work that your job coaches are doing?
I've had one who moved from bagging and stuff into going into she does the flowers, the florist. I don't got a raise, but she got into something that she really liked doing. And we've always talked to our clients and asked them, like, if there's anything more that they want to do. That's another question that, you know, what is their goal? Is there another goal that they want? And it all depends on what our clients want. You know, it's all about them. Wherever they feel comfortable, do they want another challenge? We're always encouraging them to do more and more because there's a lot out there. They don't have to be stuck. That's what I tell them. And when we have our IPPs and ask them all those questions. So, but I did have one who successfully has gone into being a florist, which she really,
nice.
Yeah.
No, that's great. And I think it's important too that you know how to be asking the question, right? Like, because if I just did this a few weeks ago, and I've been doing this work for like 35 years, and I saw someone that was here, Steve, who works a few hours, and I said something about like, oh, I heard you're doing so great. You know, are you ready to look for more hours? And he just gave me this look like, what? And so I was like, oh, right, wrong question. You know, it was more like, where would you maybe like to go explore? Or I could have asked it many different ways, but the way I asked it was not the right way.
It's not necessarily job coaches in our program, but I think it gets to the heart of your question, Dale. What we do here is we meet with our students individually and do some person-centered planning with them to identify career areas that they're interested in, and then support them in pursuing education or training while they're here. So we have a relationship with the it's kind of an adult school. It's a unique organization, but they can earn like certificates in guard card or personal care attendant, or take a certificate to learn to be a substitute at a elementary school or school. You know, so they have different training programs, that certificate programs that any adult can take. And so we introduce them to those, and with the relationship that we have with them, they engage with that training, or they take classes or certificate programs through the community college. We're at Taft College, so there's different certificate programs that they can pursue, and some pursue degrees while they're here too. And so, but the point, I guess, is we work with them to identify what's your area that you want to enter into, what training can you get while you're here, and then they work in paid internships while they're here. So we'll align their paid internship with what they want to study while they're here. And so when they graduate from a program, it's a 2-year program. So when they graduate from the program, the idea is they have the training, they have the experience in the field. And so when they transition back to their home community, they have something to put on their resume that helps them work in a field that they want to work in. And ideally, it's a field that pays more than minimum wage, that can support them in living independently. So that's our model. And I wonder if other programs could do something similar, identifying, through the person-centered planning process, identifying career interests that students have, and incorporate in some training or something that they can use to be able to move up in whatever field they want to enter into.
Yeah, that's great. And I love to hear that they're taking these certificate classes alongside others without a disability to get same sort of qualifications others may get. That's great. Excellent.
Yeah, in addition to Aaron's example, we had recently an individual who was doing an internship at a movie theater, and recently the movie theater had added like alcohol service and like food service to their services. And so this intern, she was, she realized that, hey, if I get some other certifications, I can be even more useful to the movie theater. So she is doing some extra tailor day hours, that customized supports to when she's not at work, to work on her alcohol certification and her, you know, her food and other food and beverages. I think that was a separate one. Here in California, there are a couple of different ones that you have to get, but just to recognize that, you know, if I got these, you know, they're not asking me to do this right now, but if I got them, I could be more useful and then hopefully, you know, be able to, you know, do other things here at the theater. So anyways, just goes along with what kind of Aaron was talking about, those additional certifications and things.
That's excellent. Yeah.
I know, and then Connie in the chat said, we're having success with our individuals improving on their job tasks and have increased some of their days. Also, we've had some individuals move to our, what get cut off there, Taylor
Day Service Program. That's what Jamie was just referencing.
Gotcha. Yeah. Awesome. For
further training to get jobs in the community. Yeah. Sounds like that's a great resource for that. Kind of try to go to the next level.
This is Jeff. Irene, could you send our presenters a copy of yesterday's story on Channel 23? There was they did a nice little news story on one of our individuals who's in PIP for the evening news last night.
Can we see it here?
Yeah, I'm just asking Irene if she could send the link to you, and then you could just put it up for everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw that this morning, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm in the car right now. I'm coming back from an appointment, so I can't get to it.
Oh, so at least you were seen finally.
Okay. Yeah.
Did you find it, Irene?
It looked like Irene froze.
Uh-oh.
But then I saw her take her camera off. So
right. So
maybe she's doing that.
Nope, she put it
in the...
Okay, I got it.
Okay.
Can we play that if I just click this link?
You should be able to, yeah.
All right, let me try.
Do a share screen.
Oh, right, hold on. Oh my God, stop it. I'm very good at this. All right, Cassandra, you want to do it? You're much better than I am. She's working on it, I can tell.
And while we wait, I just heard yesterday that one of our students who graduated a year or two ago, she took some training in that certificate I was talking about in early childhood education, and she's now a head teacher for a school. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that is neat. Oh, can you guys see this? Yeah. Okay. Yep. I'm gonna run it. Let me know if you guys can hear it.
Nebraska. I think it's going to start with an ad.
Things to do.
Well, that looks like a lot of fun.
Tank would float and thought, hey, it's a boat. And soon, tanking became our preferred mode of river travel. Might not get everyone's pulse racing like a jackhammer, but if it sounds good to you, welcome aboard. Nebraska. Honestly, it's not.
There you go. Maybe I'll do that when I go to Nebraska.
There you go. Go do some tanking. Uh-oh.
While also helping our community promote diversity and inclusion. Rudy Briseño Jr. is a barista at Arbor Bloom Coffee Company.
Cold brew and then one latte with oat milk.
Arbor Bloom is a new local business looking to support other local endeavors, selling locally brewed coffee from Rig City Roasting Company, and now
I'm crazy for coffee.
employing local workers through Bakersfield ARC's paid internship program.
I started out with training by phone. And after that, I got to train in the community with a trainer and a few coaches.
We encourage employers such as Arbor Bloom, our partnership with Arbor Bloom Coffee, to partner with Bakersfield ARC to offer opportunities to people with intellectual development disabilities.
Bakersfield ARC is a nonprofit organization that provides services for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. They believe that employment development is fundamental to one's quality of life.
In Rudy's case, who does a fabulous and outstanding job, he wanted to be a barista. So a couple months prior to this, he was actually interning at one of our other community partners. However, he wanted to do some cashiering. So we decided to partner with Arbor Bloom, and here we are.
Through Bakersfield ARC's Tailored Day Services, Rudy was able to get training for interviews, resume writing, money management, and self-advocacy.
One of the things I took from the trainings was to just be who we can be, as well as not to get too nervous or anxiety. Because at other times, most people, they tend to not realize we get anxious from time to time. Whenever you meet someone on the spectrum or any individuals with intellectual or developmental disabilities, spend some time with them and get to know them first. And they'll get to know you as time goes on.
Bakersfield ARC hopes more businesses will see the advantage of using these programs.
Employers can save up to 1,040 hours or 1 year, whichever comes first. So they're going to save up to 1,040 hours in payroll costs. Workman's comp and liability is all covered. A job coach is provided.
Now Rudy spends every day getting to work somewhere he loves.
The first latte that I got to make on my own, it was so much fun. I would hope that they learn to overcome anxiety. Most times it can be based on different levels on the spectrum.
Now, if you'd like to know more about Bakersfield ARC's paid internship program or their Tailored Day services, you can head to our website, turnto23.com. In Bakersfield, I'm Veronica Morley, 23BC, connecting you.
That's great.
Yeah, we were very impressed because for two reasons. One is Rudy's just a really nice young man. He's really gone really well through our program. But two, it's anytime we can get free publicity and PR, it's we want to spread the wealth. We want all the providers to do something similar to that and get the word out for both the programs in general, but also for your own specific program.
Yeah, good. Good. Well, we're getting close to the top of the hour. Janine, anything else we want to make sure to cover under this last section of our series in terms of workplace support, systematic instruction?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Of course, Dale, I don't know if you were on when Jeffrey was talking about, so this will continue as a community of practice on a monthly basis. So,
oh, good.
Which is great. So it'll allow you all the opportunity to continue the discussions.
Yeah, no, I didn't catch that. I'm glad to hear it though. Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, just for me, I just really want to thank you, Janine and Dale, because I've been on, as many as I could of your presentations, and some of the tools that you have been so graciously supplied, our vendors over time, I think have been really helpful, especially for those vendors that are maybe just starting to think about, implementing some of these services into their work, maybe moving away, adding or enhancing that day program feel, but moving more out into the community. So the tools that you have provided over the course of the last many months have I think been really helpful as well. So
thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. And you know, when and as you move more towards community-based services, the role of the job coach, you know, the role of job coach was developed mostly for support employment, and yet as you're now going out into the community more and in going out doing a whole bunch of different things, including non-employment related activities like the Meaningful Day presentations that we made, coaching in the community where they're learning social and technical skills that allow them to effectively participate in the community, even if it's not related to a job, is an important role that somebody needs to play within your organization. So what am I saying? I'm saying you're going to need more and more job coaches for more and more different types of activities as these folks spread out into the community. And so this particular topic, I think, is important. Is discovery and assessment and task analysis, systematic instruction, and ongoing supports really should be known. Those skills and tools should be used by pretty much everybody in your organizations. So I'm picking back off of what Jamie's saying to say it's important to kind of share this information. And we have, like I say, the PowerPoint slides that you can access for any of this material and some of the archived webinars. And we would encourage you to continue to share this information with others within your organization, because it's going to be useful and applicable moving forward.
Absolutely.
So I have a question that's
Sure.
a little bit related to what we're talking about. First of all, did anyone catch on that news segment where they said that there's a permanent job coach with that worker?
I didn't catch that, but that is interesting that would be said. Yes.
Yeah. But secondly, how because I've been, I believe, to most of these webinars as well, and I'm seeing the same faces and hearing the same things, which is great. But like, my responsibility at my office is also to go forward and train all of my staff that's underneath me. Are you guys doing weekly trainings, monthly trainings? Because we're actually going to do a training in September where we shut down completely, and I bring everybody, entire staffs, up to speed on changing our thinking. Because one of the things that I took from last week's training at Kern Regional Center, and I'm kind of assuming that you guys all did that, but one of the biggest takeaways that I took personally was people don't mind change. They just don't want to be changed. And I'm very aware of that as I go forward training the rest of the staff. And I'm wondering, like, how are you guys doing it? You guys are all the gatekeepers for all of this new training. So how are you guys doing it, like weekly, twice a month, once a month? Like, what are you guys doing?
Good question.
That is a good question.
I'll speak for us, but we do a quarterly training with our staff, and same as you, we close down, we let the employers and everybody else know that we're going to, and then we talk about all of our individuals, what has worked, what has not worked, what could we change, what we need to change, or how do we make things easier for both, or how do we make our clients understand a couple of things that their employers want them to do and why they want them to do it, and how do we approach that if there's any issues and things like that. But we do quarterlies for those for everybody, and we talk about every single one of them, just that we make sure everything's covered. Okay. And how it's been working for certain coaches, and you know, what techniques they're using that works out for them, or for you know, every individual is very individual, so there's ways for every single one. That's what we do.
Good.
Just to mention the many of the webinars that we did on the first go round are online, and if you go to bakersfieldarc.org, at the top left-hand corner, it says, HCBS Bootcamp. You can find a number of the webinars, and you're welcome to use those as part of your staff trainings too. And so if you want to see Dale and Janine's smiling faces, and share them with your staff, that's a place you can use the expertise that you've gotten to share with your folks. The other thing that I really encourage you, depending on the size of your organization, if you're a small organization, you're training your DSPs. If you're a medium to larger size and you have some managers in the middle there, the managers are a pivotal place where you really want to look, because they're the ones where you want to get the best buy-in, because they're going to go back to your staff and really do make sure that it's being implemented on the scene. I put out a newsletter yesterday, and in there I used the analogy of going to the Tom Pomeranz training last week. It would be like a child being on a bicycle with training wheels. And if I came up and give you a push, you're going to get some momentum. But unless you start pedaling or get another push, that momentum is going to die pretty quickly. And that's what we don't want to see happen. We don't want to see the trainings that you've received from these two excellent systems experts and other folks that we've done in the newsletters and the community of practice sort of just die because there's no more momentum. We as a group need to continue to pedal to make sure that we're moving in a forward direction.
I like the analogy.
Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah, there were some questions in the chat box. One was, can we get a hold of the PowerPoints? And absolutely. And I think Irene was responding to that in terms of, but yeah, I mean, I think if we haven't made the message clear enough, we don't consider our materials to be proprietary. We present them in the spirit of take them, use them, put them on your letterhead, make them your own, change them if you see that you want to do, add some things or whatever you want. But yeah, we definitely want you to feel comfortable using our information and tools and PowerPoints for continuing to work with your own staff. And I've worked with Janine long enough to know if she would agree with the statement, but we want to continue to be a resource to you. And you have our contact information, and simple questions, or you get into a situation with an employer or a job seeker, and you just want somebody to kind of talk it through, we want to be there for you. If there's additional actual content or resource material that you're looking for, and if we can provide it, we certainly will. So please consider us to be ongoing supporters of your efforts.
Yeah. And I wouldn't mind even hopping on some of the ongoing community of practice meetings if I'm available to just, I love the employment conversation. So
Janine and Dale, I'll make sure you I don't know if are you getting my mailing, my newsletter?
We do get the newsletters. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So because they the dates of the trainings are all be there. The community of practices will be there too.
And then does it have the dates and links on that newsletter? Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Great.
So you're welcome to join us anytime.
Thank you.
Sounds good. All right, you guys. Well, unless there's anything else, we'll go ahead and say our goodbyes. And again, good luck to all of you. And thank you so much for hanging in there with you. I agree that we've had the same kind of group stick with us throughout this community of practice. And we appreciate the opportunity to work with you over this period of time.
And very nice.
Thank you, guys. We appreciate it.
Yeah, good.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
All right, and Cassandra will send that to you, Irene.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.